You know what the best part is about having your own show where you talk about movies and television? Watching 7 hours straight of television isn't considered sad. It's considered research. Folks, I've just got done unpacking season 4, part 1 of Ozarks, and holy cow. If you're not watching Ozarks, you need to jump on this as soon as humanly possible. For those of you that are fans of Ozarks, you know that the series is concluding. Okay, part 2 will be the final, the fin. It will be over, and the story will conclude. Part 1, absolute masterpiece, 7 full episodes, story-packed, action-packed, character-driven, you name it. What you love about Ozark, it is present in season 4, part 1. Unbelievable. From what I'm gathering, part 2 should be out later this year. We won't have to wait a full year for part 2 to come out. Some people are speculating that it will be another 7 episodes. Personally, I could see it playing at about 5. 7 episodes for part 2 would actually bring it to 14. I've never really seen Netflix or known Netflix to actually produce 14 episodes from a Netflix original. Very curious that they actually did decide to break this up into 2 parts as well. To my knowledge, the only show that I've seen do this was The Sopranos on HBO. Now, I'm not sure if Netflix had to maybe pay out more if there was quote unquote a 5th season or not, if that's the reason for breaking up into 2 parts. But either way, part 1 on Netflix now, absolutely amazing. It made you laugh a little bit. It made you cry for sure. And you just were nose deep into the storyline. It was so done. It was really, you could have called it season 4 right there. I mean, it almost had the 10 episodes, I believe 10 or 12 episodes that Ozark is anyway. You had a beginning, middle, end, conclusion, and wrapped up like an Ozark season would. If you haven't checked it out yet, we will be diving deeper into what we just uncovered. So if you haven't watched Ozark, you need to. You're only 4 seasons behind. I would literally get caught up right now before part 2 drops, and I envy you for not having to wait years. I mean, what I'm realizing when I turn in Ozarks, like most of the viewers here today, you know, if you're like me, you're probably watching this show in about a day or so. And I didn't really have time to recap and watch the series again. So I was left, holy shit, I haven't really watched anything regarding this in 365 days or whenever season 3 came out. So it'd been a little while, but they give you that nice recap before the season actually starts, which is beautiful. But folks, spoilers ahead, let's dive in. What really sets Ozark apart, season to season in my eyes, are the new characters that you're introduced to. The audience is introduced to throughout each episode, throughout the season. Last year, Claire's brother, comes in, monumental figure, and you do actually see a little bit of him in season 4. Obviously, he's dead. The cartel killed him. Marty burned him, but you do talk about him. But just the dynamic characters throughout. First and foremost, you're introduced. So season 4 starts off right, as the birds are really actually peeling Helen's body parts off of their hair. They're still down at the Navarro compound for a party, right? You're introduced to Javi. Now, Javi is, Omar Navarro's nephew. Okay, Javi's kind of second in command. Javi's loose. Very loose. He doesn't really think before he does things, all right? He kind of reminds me a little bit of Del in the terms of just like all blood and guts, but Del was at least a little bit smarter. Javi's smart, but Javi doesn't think. Javi's the wild card. He's going out there. First episode, he kills the sheriff. Just shoots him dead right then and there. The introduction of Javi was just, I think, much needed, just because it gives you this character that no one's going to like. Javi is just a motherfucker that guns people down. He wanted the birds killed. Right? He lets Marty know that, like, he wanted to side with Helen. Omar knows that, hey, if I screw up or if I kind of stray off of something, Javi's going to try to kill me to take my throne, right? So Javi, just monumental, and especially the body count that he has throughout the season. I mean, we'll touch on the deaths here in a little bit, but Javi's responsible for, just 2 of the deaths at the end of season that just left me. I'm still trying to figure out. I'm still don't even know if I'm emotionally ready to talk about that yet. You have Maya Miller, FBI agent. Marty let it known to Navarro that he had turned an FBI agent. He really didn't turn her. Miller's pretty straight by the book, but they're at least working together. Miller knows that Marty is a necessary evil that she needs to work with in order to bring her closer and closer to the cartel. So you do touch on her a little bit in the last season, but obviously her storyline's a lot more developed here Fuck. I mean, she's responsible for a lot of this madness as well. She double crosses the FBI, making sure that she's never probably going to get a raise as an FBI agent. Completely just kind of, goes AWOL and just has, Navarro arrested after they strike that deal. So we see a lot more in her. You see Mel. Mel's the PI. I feel like we're going to see a lot more of him in part 2 as well. He was funny. I mean, she had some good comedic relief. Obviously, he was a substance abuse detective from Chicago, like it seems like most of these law enforcement officers are from Chicago that come in. I can even think of a couple of the cops in the earlier seasons as well. I like Mel, though. I mean, he's passing out his business cards. He's made 500 of them. The cat's at the sitters, so he's just kind of hanging out, so he's taken care of right there. But I did like the appearance of Mel. Claire Shaw, I thought was an interesting character as well. Obviously, part of Shaw Pharmaceuticals. She is the big money donor, the 150 million for the war chest there to run pretty much the whole political spectrum for the next 40, 50 years in terms of Wendy. So she's there with that capital. Really thought it was interesting when Javi kind of, takes his drugs. He's like, hey, we're not going to give the pharmaceutical company our drugs anymore. Just because obviously the pharmaceutical company went in there to kind of cut costs because I believe they were getting them from overseas somewhere. Javi holds his drugs, and next thing you know, Marty gets Ruth involved. Ruth goes to get the drugs from, the KC mob, buys them back, and uses that to, kind of help Claire and company. I don't know why they just weren't doing that the entire time. I know Marty and Darlene are kind of like at war, and it's very present throughout this entire season, but instead of just going to the cartel, and striking this deal, if Darlene's got a good opioid product, just kind of cut out the middleman right there. You don't have to worry about Javi or anything like that. You could have just gone right there. Kerry Stone, obviously Kerry was working with Ruth and Darlene trying to move the heroin a little bit. Kerry was bringing a lot of money into Darlene for Ruth to wash until Kerry OD'd at the Missouri Bell. And then, he decided, hey, at 40 years old, I don't want to be doing this anymore. Ruth, I'm out. And then you have Sheriff Guerrero steps in as acting sheriff after Sheriff Nix goes missing, AKA takes one in the back of the head to Javi or the front of the head, what have you. So some characters I do think that will be, Kerry not so much, but the sheriff, Mel, maybe Claire Shaw playing a more of a pivotal role here too as we progress through this storyline too. So it'll be interesting to see what they're all going to be up to. Now, what would Ozark be without just absolutely killing people? I know they're really good at just the shock and awe that they have when they actually do kill off a character that you spend much time investing, AKA Helen last season just takes one right to the freaking head when Dell just got smashed to smithereens, when Darlene killed her husband, when the preacher got killed, when the preacher's wife got killed. There are a ton of deaths throughout Ozark, right? It is a drama. It's an action drama for a reason. So kind of just taking the deaths one by one. You start off the season with the death of Sheriff Nix. So obviously Javi kills Nix to get to Darlene. Now, right when you first meet Javi that he hates Darlene. He says, take care of the hillbilly druggie, the heroin druggie. He wants her dead, right? She's stepping on that turf. So Javi kind of shoots across the bow at Nix and then has Wendy and Marty kind of cover that up. Obviously, again, Javi's a wild card. He just doesn't give a fuck. He's out there shooting. He's killing. He's doing whatever he can. So I thought that was really interesting. And then you have Darlene just going on a rampage of just being mentally unstable. She kills the one driver, I believe it was Kerry's driver, who, is trying to blackmail Darlene. Hey, Darlene, I'm fine with lying. You just, you need to compensate me for my actions. Darlene feels that is disrespectful and just fucking blows him away right with that shotgun and leaves Wyatt and, Ruth to clean up the body. And then just when you think it, things are settling down a little bit, Frank Cosgrove Sr. stops in to see Darlene again. He's pissed because Darlene was selling her heroin to Frank Jr., what didn't let Sr. know at all. God forbid Sr. raises his voice whatsoever, just takes one right to the fucking stomach again, courtesy of Darlene's shotgun. Darlene is just fucking wild with that thing. Darlene has the breakdown, and the rest is history. Wyatt was on his way to try to leave, sees Darlene, hears about child services, and, asks Darlene to marry him and, have a quick hillbilly wedding. The two deaths, one death that was very sad, one death that was very warranted, the deaths of Darlene and Wyatt, R.I.P. Wyatt. Darlene, it needed to happen. You felt like you could not take her down. She was just a prominent figure that was just in bed with everybody in terms of she had connections to the sheriff. Like she could do anything. She was just so quick on the draw with that shotgun that nobody could even touch her. And she takes one to the stomach. I am very curious to see. I hope she's dead. The character is just that of a character that you wish death upon them because they're so evil. So it's just a great acting. But, Darlene took one to the stomach. You don't know if she's going to be dead or not. And then you have, I think, the biggest shock of this season and the biggest, oh my God, that I just watched this was Wyatt taking one to the head from Javi. I mean, I think Wyatt's last words were, I'm sorry, I don't even know you, and just takes one right between the eyes. Then he goes down, then Ruth finds his body. I mean, just fantastic acting. I mean, Ruth really set herself apart in this season. Ruth, just phenomenal actress, the actress that plays Ruth, phenomenal in the role, but all of season 4, especially the end, absolutely fantastic. Just the way it was shot, the way it was acted, the way it was done. She loves Wyatt. Wyatt's kind of like her kid brother, even though they're cousins. And when she stumbles upon his body and Darlene's body, just devastating. I mean, you didn't think that they were going to go ahead and kill off Wyatt, but when you saw it, you just stunned. Absolutely stunned. But some big notable deaths here going into, part 2. I can only expect that there's going to be a lot more bloodshed. Got to look, what's to come in part 2. Now, part 1 opens up with the Bird family in the minivan, just driving along, just talking. They're trying to get their lives back together. They're trying to go to Chicago. Next thing you know, a truck goes into their lane. Van flips upside down, and then we just cut to Helen getting shot in the head again, and the Bird's wiping off her blood matter. So it's never touched on again. I'm very curious to see if this very ending is the way everything actually ends. Do the Birds die? Is this part of some witness protection thing? Is this just karma catching up with the family and they die in a car accident? We don't really touch on that whatsoever. Curious to see what happens with Javi and Navarro. Now, Navarro had sold out Javi. Javi kills Darlene and Wyatt after, kind of setting up that deal with the FBI. He thinks he's untouchable. We were trying to get to the point to where Javi was going to get arrested by the FBI, and Navarro was going to escape back to Mexico, work out his 5 years, and then, be free, be able to kind of move about the U.S. and Mexico however he pleases. We haven't got to that yet. Are we going to get to that? I don't think so. I think we're going to somehow see Javi and Navarro face off, or we're going to see Ruth and Javi somehow face off. The way this ends, Ruth's in the car just screaming at the top of her lungs, even though we just have dead silence, which I think was beautifully shot as well, on her way to try to kill Javi. She wants to bring in revenge from the death of Wyatt, as she should. Ruth is probably, she's been through some of the most shit humanly possible this entire series. She's had to kill her uncles. She's had, seen her father get killed. She's fucking Ruth. I mean, it's just, it's crazy. So I'm very curious to see even what happens with her. You could, if this ends like I think it might end, I do think that Ruth might be dying in the last episode. I do think that we're going to see a lot of characters just dying off in the last episode. Again, I don't know exactly if that will take place, but just from what I've seen about movies and what I've seen about television shows, in this type of drama, if they're doing it the way that I think that they would be doing it, it all sets off for just some big blood aftermath to where, your tragic character of Ruth, the one that the fans know and love, that they might be able to relate to, who knows, if she just dies. You might have Navarro take one to the stomach. You have to have Javi die. I think Javi's going to die in just a beautiful fashion, a memorable fashion. I mean, the things that they need to do, that the Ozark writers and directors need to do after the way that they killed off Helen to end season 3, the way that they have to gift wrap and the way that they're probably going to tie up season 4 is going to be extreme. I don't know if they're going to kill the entire platform of characters or not. I'd be very curious to see how this goes because, you're wondering, is everyone just going to get off scot-free? Like, so Navarro is going to do 5 years and that's going to be it. The Birds have really just become political figures in all of their work, with the cartel. It's just going to go, hand washed. Now, Wendy has every single connection this side of, the States. Who knows? I just can't see everyone living happily ever after. The way the Ozarks has really kind of just set up throughout the season, it has to end in some sort of Martin Scorsese's The Departed style tragedy, to where Mark Wahlberg's just going to be sitting there at the very end, just pointing a gun in his full scrub outfit and just shooting Javi right in the head. And then you see a rat walking across, and now we're in Boston. Obviously I'm joking a little bit there, but I'm very curious to see how this completely runs out. Overall, great 7 episodes of television. I mean, absolutely beautifully shot. There were some things I didn't care for. Jonah's character, Wendy's character. I've never been a huge fan of Wendy's character. She's completed really a full transformation of just kind of coming where she was from season 1, episode 1 till now. She's got total control. That's what she's trying to fight for, but she's got no control at the same time. She can't control her house. Joan, I mean, she's calling the fucking cops on her son. She's trying to get him to learn a lesson by having him get locked up in a federal penitentiary and have his record sealed when he turns 18. Come on. Okay, that's not like parenting 101. Even shutting off like the lockbox and with the power. Now that's more like 2021 style parenting, 2022 style parenting, but it's like, come on. I mean, and Jonah is just loose lips sink fucking ships. I mean, he's over there spoiling everything. He's telling Darlene pretty much every little secret. And if you know anything, you don't really get in bed with Darlene because, as history now shows, it's not the best fucking idea. And then, you just kind of, it progressed a little bit. But Jonah's character really kind of, yeah, it was cool when him and Marty were actually working together when Jonah thought he was going to jail and Marty gets his hands wet right back into laundering. And Charlotte, my girl needs a storyline. She's dropping out of college and she just wants to join the family business, which is great. The only thing I really liked with Charlotte, which I mean, the only kind of action they gave her was when she was meeting with Helen's daughter and she kind of pulls card out of her mom's playbook and threatens her. She's like, hey, if you tell anybody, we're going to kill you like somebody killed your mom. So I thought, that was at least interesting, kind of hints of Wendy in that scene. But other than that, my girl gets no love. Maybe she gets some love in season, 4, part 2. But I really don't think so, because she hasn't got a lot of love since she became Emancipated Minor back like in season 2. And even that was kind of like a storyline. But overall, a lot to unpack. You guys got to tell me what you think is going to happen for season 2, though. Season 4, part 2. Do you think Ruth is going to die? Who do you think is going to die? What way do you think the story is going to go? You got to let me know in the comments below. Let's talk about it, guys. I am all Ozarks right now. I feel like I'm in the swamps. I'm at the Lazy O. I'm just kind of hanging out. I'm on the Missouri Belle. I am locked and loaded in Ozarks right now. I cannot wait for part 2. Let me know what you guys think. Let's talk about it.